Welcome to Coffee and a Weather Map with Jeff. It is Friday, August 29th, 2025. It's the Labor Day weekend, since Monday the 1st is Labor Day. We'll talk a little bit about that. Actually, in lower Michigan, it looks like it's going to be a pretty nice weekend, other than it will be on the cool side compared to with what we had about a week ago. South Texas, well, it looks like that we could hold off most of the rain, although the first looks like it could get rainy then. All right, so let's kick off everything here. And as we do in normal fashion here on the podcast, video, whatever, kick off everything with the upper air. This morning's upper air chart looks like we have an area of low pressure that's in the upper atmosphere around, that would be western Quebec, and just to the northwest of, or northeast of Ottawa, Canada. That puts northern, or not just northern, but lower Michigan in northwest flow. Continues. That still shows that we've got cooler air that's kind of been set in over the Great Lakes, despite the fact that we have high pressure at the surface. That cooler air is influencing everything here all the way down. It was about mid 40s here in Michigan, down here in West Michigan, where overnight this morning made a chilly trip into the marina on the docks this morning. Otherwise, then we have high pressure with kind of a confused pattern, very light steering pattern over the Gulf Coast states, and specifically South Texas at current time. This allows, with things like the sea breeze, to possibly kick off things, but today looks like it could end up being a little bit on the dry side. We're going to take a look at the radar with what's going on currently across the United States. You've got the front that went through Michigan the other day, now out in New England. You have the tail end of that front is actually kind of stalling, and you've got a complex of thunderstorms there in Minnesota and Wisconsin that's just kind of following along. And if we put it in motion, you can kind of see that it's moving away from lower Michigan, and it looks like it's going to be heading into northern Illinois over the time. And then you've got a few showers and thunderstorms with another area of low pressure that's there in the Dakotas. Then if you saw a couple days ago, there's still lows and troughs of low pressure all through the Rockies there, so that's causing a few issues in that case. The front that has that went through several days ago, you can see its thing. Let me turn on the drawing pen here. And you can see this is the front that's been going on and kicking off things. And actually, we'll talk about that here in the surface analysis, but it roughly runs right along that area there. And that is going to be the main issue with things going in South Texas here in a day or two. All right. So let's get back to the analysis. That's the upper air pattern, and we started the surface with looking at the radar, so let's take a look at what the surface is here. This morning at 5 a.m. Eastern, 4 a.m. Central, WPC had a big area of high pressure over the upper Great Lakes. That is causing, as I said, temperatures to be in the 40s. It looks like Houghton Lake got to 41 this morning. Manistee even 41 degrees. And it looks like around here, I know we got up and it was 47 in Muskegon, and we're not too far away from Muskegon right now. And that has been the chilly side of things going on here. It'd be nice to have a 50s at least, so it's not so chilly here in the mornings. Otherwise, you get down here into Texas, as I was showing where that front was, it runs roughly along Interstate 20, going across before it curves north and goes north along the front range of the Rockies in New Mexico and then up into Colorado. And then you can see all those areas of low pressure and high pressure. It gets kind of confused during that time when it gets into the mountains a lot of times, just due to elevated heat sources and showers and thunderstorms that break out across those areas, depending on the wind flow pattern. But for South Texas, we continue to have some onshore flow. Things are relatively clear this morning around the area. You can see it's got a pretty decent little contrast of temperatures between north and south of that front, with temperatures in the lower to mid 70s north of it, and you're pretty much in the upper 70s south of that front. The idea is that this front is probably going to sag, and that will start introducing some chances for rain showers into South Texas here later on. All right, we're going to go quickly over to the tropics. Looking at the unified map, you got a few tropical waves going through. Of course, can be heavy rain with any of those going on. I'm not entirely out of the question that it's not entirely out of the question that one of these waves, like this one here, could possibly influence at least deep South Texas at some point. You could probably get enough dynamics up there with the front close by that you could get that in there. And we've got a train of tropical waves. None of them really expected to develop much. They don't have a whole lot as far as support up there. The only one that does is this one that has just come off the African coast, is over there by Cabo Verde Islands. That is the one that is showing up. We're going to take a look at that here on the satellite. And that would be down here. We're starting to see a little bit of the wave action, lots of clouds getting together. But like I said, there's not a whole lot at least helping it to get going. Here's some of those other waves. Here's one there just across the Lesser Antilles. Is going across, let's see, I think that's Venezuela there. And then there's that other one that we were talking about around, that's getting ready to come into Nicaragua. But you can see the cloud masses up to the north there that are kind of associated with it. So it's not out of the question that, like I said, deep South Texas could get into that tropical moisture here a little bit later. But nothing as far as development is concerned. And so the Hurricane Center gives that wave out by the Cabo Verde Islands a 30% chance over the next 7 days to develop. They have a 0% chance for the next 48 hours. So nothing is imminent. Decided to kind of give you the Weather Nerds version here this morning of what's going on. So all that stuff out of the Cape Verde Islands looks like it's trying to form something else. The GFS is trying to form something else out a little bit further, going out through 240 hours. That's what this is doing here. So the next 10 days. So, but you can see that it tries to get something going, but it's very disorganized, and it's fairly weak. At most, we're getting, it looks like with winds, on the upper side is 50 to 60 knots, so we're below hurricane force. So it's could be at the worst a strong tropical storm if anything gets going. And like I said, the Hurricane Center only has a 30% chance of it developing. All right, so that leaves us into the SPC, WPC territory. Everything Weather, this is my new favorite app. You can have all sorts of favorites on here. But you can also, and I've turned the radar function off at the moment because I wanted to show the WPC and SPC outlooks for the next 3 days. Here's this morning's outlook. The light green shows where all the general thunder is. There is an area of marginal threat for severe weather, so 1 out of 5 there. That runs from about central Nebraska down the Front Range, where that front is, all the way into New Mexico. Of course, that's also where WPC, so that little slightly darker green shading, and then those yellow slight risks are that WPC has put out, as well as down here along Louisiana in the Gulf Coast into Alabama as well. Like I said, that front basically runs across Interstate 20 there from about Shreveport all the way over to, it goes just off of Odessa, and then before it starts to curl up. That is something to watch here, since we do have the slight risk for heavy rain there, and then also, like I said, in the rest of the Gulf Coast. However, it is nearby, but it's not enough quite to get a whole bunch of showers and thunderstorms into South Texas right now. Only the Victoria Crossroads is the area that's expected to really maybe get any sort of thunderstorm activity here in the next 24 hours. So if we move ahead, that front, as I said, is expected to sag and kind of sit in the same area. So we are still expected at least to have some general thunder. It gets all the way down into Beeville and Three Rivers and George West, some of those areas in South Texas. Corpus Christi could probably be on the outside of the thunderstorms. It's not to say that you couldn't get any, but not as likely. It looks like a line north of, or an area north of Rockport. Northport's in Michigan. Rockport to Mathis and north into the Victoria Crossroads are the areas that we would expect some thunderstorms to go on, as well as then out there by, I think that's, if I remember, I've driven through there enough times, Three Rivers out in this area, and then the northern part there for Cotulla. So that's day 2. Oh, what's Michigan doing? Oh, hey, high pressure. High pressure is the dominant feature in northern Michigan, or not just northern Michigan, but Michigan in general. In fact, if we move on, again on day 3, so this is Sunday, we have nothing expected. In fact, day 4. SPC and WPC don't have anything going out that far either. So we'll go back to day 3 here. That front, that cold front is going to sag, that went through Michigan, and the high pressure is going to continue to sag further south, but it's going to get hung up just like the last one did. And so we end up with these next couple of days with those marginal risks of heavy rain and slight risks out in West Texas and up into the Panhandle, as well as in the Dakotas, or South Dakota and Nebraska, and into northern Kansas for tomorrow. And then day 3, things look like they start to settle down a bit, although it wouldn't be surprising. Looks like some of the monsoonal moisture tries to make its way north into that frontal area in New Mexico as well, so that it gets there around El Paso and Las Cruces and areas south of Albuquerque for moderate or a slight risk of excessive heavy rain. All right, so and that was what the other thing I was going to show you then. Let's take a look here. We'll go jump over to pivotal weather. You can kind of see some of this idea as this is the 500 millibar pattern. That front is there and it sags south, but on the 500 millibar pattern, you can see these yellow areas are kind of areas of uplift, the vorticity, the spin in the atmosphere that helps to make things kind of unstable. And by, let's see, what time frame we're at, the 30th. Okay, so tomorrow afternoon, we see that little wave here. Those reds and purples there is another short wave that's coming through, and then it comes down and it looks like it's going to get in just to the north of Victoria. There's that yellow streak there, so the areas of vorticity will help kick off some stuff in the upper air. So that's pretty much what we're expecting, is that the front doesn't get very far south. We get all the moisture that's still streaming up off the Gulf, and then we get an upper air disturbance that kind of starts to try to kick things off. So we'll take a look now at our local forecasts. All right, so we take a look at the local forecasts. We'll start off with lower Michigan. High temperatures today in the northern part of Michigan, 60 to 65. maybe 70 as you get down across M70 or M55. That's the one that runs from roughly Manistee over through Gladwin and then over to here into Aranac County. M72 runs from about Traverse City over to Harrisville and runs right around some of the headwaters of the Manistee and the Asable rivers. Actually, they come almost out of Otsego County. Both of them come out of Otsego County at some point, but some of those areas are some of the areas that we pay attention to when I was in the Gaylord office. Downstate, so here in southwest lower Michigan and in southeast lower Michigan, we're looking at temperatures from 65 to about 70 degrees across the region for highs today. I see Ludington's at 66, Muskegon's at 69. So where we are with the boat, we're probably going to be right around 68, 69 degrees as well. I wouldn't count out the 70s, but we'll see what kind of temperatures we get with the winds coming off the lake. You can see though the temperatures don't get much above 70, if at all, across southern lower Michigan. Tomorrow, Saturday, we have temperatures do warm up a bit. Looks like Bay Harbor's still going to be around the mid 60s, but Gaylord gets to 69. And since it's going to be a sunny day, it would not be surprising for them to get 70 or 71 out of this. These types of things, sometimes the models are a little on the slow side. I didn't look at what the 75th percentile was of temperature, high temperature chances were. So, but that would be my guess, is that you could probably give some sort of an average between the mean temperature off of the national blended models and the 75th percentile. So that would give you probably just right around 70, 71 degrees, something like that. Of course, as you get further south along M55, then it gets into the lower to mid 70s. Gladwin and Skidway Lake both right around 75 degrees. A little further south as we go Ludington, Big Rapids. So we're looking at 75 almost all across southern lower Michigan. And then on Sunday, we do have temperatures getting into the mid to upper 70s. It helps if I zoom in a little bit before I start moving the map around. I don't get that little information coming out at me. Anyway, some of the coastal areas will be the cooler spots with temperatures right around 70 degrees. 75 getting into the upper 70s, especially as you get down by Cadillac and Gladwin. You get a little further south, upper 70s across most of southern lower Michigan, maybe mid 70s along the Lake Michigan and Lake Huron shorelines, and down around Lake Erie as well. Otherwise, mid to upper 70s across the area for Sunday. Monday pulled up here on Desi, and just to take a look at those temperatures, and it looks much the same. We're getting close, right around the 80 degree mark there in southwest lower, with Grand Rapids coming in at 81 and Saginaw at 80, Kalamazoo 79. So that will be a warmer day, and as we saw, it looks like it should be a dry day too. So the weekend in lower Michigan looks pretty pleasant, with temperatures warming up as you get closer to Labor Day itself. All right. So if we head back over, and we are going to look at Texas. South Texas today with that dryness, at least, except for maybe up near the Victoria Crossroads. And again, we'll take a look at some of the chances there, and it's not a whole lot going on. But as we always say, it's upper 80s right along the lakeshore, the seashore, the middle Texas coast there, and the barrier islands. We get into the lower 90s in Rockport and Corpus Christi, but then as you get further inland into the coastal plains and the Victoria Crossroads, we're getting into the mid to upper 90s, and then 100 degrees there at Beeville, Mathis, Kingsville, Falfurrias, and then the further west you go, the more likely it is you could be to 105, and in the case of Laredo, it's at 106. So beware of the heat that is going on out west. For tomorrow, Saturday, it does as that front starts to kind of sag down further south. The chances of rain, like I said, kind of increase a bit, but we're going to get mid-90s up in the Victoria area. Still, Rockport and Corpus Christi right around 90, but the coastal plains, like Kingsville and Mathis, right around 95 to 100 degrees. And the further west you go, then you're going to be in that 100 to 105 range, with Laredo expected to again be around 106. And then for Sunday, it looks much of the same, although those hundreds are kind of retreating a little bit further off to the west, going into mainly the brush country. Not a whole lot in the Rio Grande Plains, although, or not the Rio Grande Plains, but the coastal plains. Although if you take a look, Falfurrias is 99, Mathis is 99. So you're not all that far out from the 100-degree range in there. But it looks like upper 80s at the coast, and getting inland, then it starts to warm up to close to 100 by the time you're getting out of the coastal plains and into the brush country. As I was talking about all that, here are the chances for precipitation in South Texas. You can see a little bit there. Let's see here. I need to get this. There we go. Okay, so for today, or at least through the afternoon, we have less than a 5% chance across the entire part of South Texas. It starts to increase a little bit to Victoria, like 10%, but to me that's a 90% chance that nothing happens. By overnight, and then by the next morning, we're still well below 10%. So we're not expecting anything to get that far south. It's by the afternoon that we start to get into this 20 to 30%. So some scattered showers and thunderstorms. As we said, that there was a little bit up there in the Victoria Crossroads, when we were talking about the severe the thunderstorm chances earlier. And you can see that some of that moisture and the effect of the upper air pattern is trying to get something to get going in the coastal plains a little further south, but we're still in that 10 to 15% chance range, which means it's not likely anything would happen out of there. That retreats once the heat goes away. By Sunday morning, we start to see things starting to come back. By the early afternoon, 2 p.m., looks like we've got a chance for a 30% chance scattered showers and thunderstorms in the Victoria Crossroads. Again, not getting into the Corpus Christi area until something expected by the late afternoon. So we're going by 8 p.m. on Sunday. We do have 50s and 60% chance there in the Victoria Crossroads. Scattered showers and thunderstorms, and some isolated stuff all the way down to Falfurrias with Kingsville and Corpus Christi. And then you've got out in the brush country, it starts to decrease quite a bit. And by the time you get to the Rio Grande Plains, there by Dimmitt and Laredo and Zapata, you're back down to below 10%. So if we keep going overnight, we do have a chance of it kind of spreading out to the west a little bit, but it's not a whole lot of a chance. Only for the next morning, then it looks like something is trying to come in there from the northwest. Probably with that front trying to sag a little bit south, and some of the upper air patterns suggested that there was another little short wave coming down. And then that looks like for Monday, I wouldn't say it's a complete washout, but there's a 40% chance of rain there in Corpus Christi and Beeville. Victoria's at that 50-50 shot right now. And then by the late afternoon into the evening, it looks like most of the area is in a 40 to 50% chance. So it could, if most people are going home from the Labor Day weekend and getting ready for the next day, that's probably the time to do it, is during the afternoon, because there won't be a whole lot to go on. And then overnight, things kind of subside a bit before another little wave gets going and starts coming down the Rio Grande. All right. And I think that is all I've got today. So with that, like and subscribe, and we will look at more weather together. as I try to get my workflow pattern to go. And if you have any questions, leave them in the comments. If you would like to see something that I haven't talked about, I can do that as well. And just put your comments in the comment section there. And then if you also would like a forecast for something, you can reach out on the comments or message me and see, we can talk about what we can find out for you. And with that, thanks a lot and have a great day.